This is the 21st season of Bass Talk Live. BTL is presented by Bass Cat Boats, Strike King Lures, AFTCO, Pro Guide Batteries, Spro, Gamakatsu, The Bass Tank, Denali Rods, Beatdown Outdoors, and Sunline.
BTL coming at you.
Good morning and welcome to another edition of BTL Bass Talk Live, where we are going to talk about bass fishing first time back in 2025. Brand new year, brand new show, and kicking things off with the GOAT, the one and only KVD, who it occurred to me when we set this show up at the end of last year was the very first guest on the rendition of what Mark Jeffries back in the day started, called BTL, Bass Talk Live. And I remember we were in his old house in Moore, Oklahoma. He was losing his mind. He was like, "We got Kevin VanDam on. We can't mess this up." They had just gone from the Sirius XM show to this new web-based platform. He'd been talking to a dude in England about like live streaming the stuff over the show. He had Gary Judici and Kenyon Hill in studio. The first guest was Kevin. And I tried to find the archives from that footage, but we're unable to do so. But it was a kind of a new venture at the time to do the daily show. And now we have the man, the myth, the legend himself on, who is embarking on a new endeavor. And that is with the VanDam Experience that just started airing this week on the Outdoor Channel. Kevin VanDam, thank you for jumping on Bass Talk Live.
Matt, good to see you, man. Brand new year, man. It's always weird for me because, in the fall, I like to hunt and, wind things down. But gosh, after New Year's, especially up here, we've got it's cold weather and snow. I'm fired up for a new year, man. I'm ready to get after it.
It is. We're going to dive into all things VanDam Experience, now airing on the Outdoor Channel. And then there's a number of different ways that you can digest that content. But you did mention the new year. Now, what does the new year look like in the VanDam household? Is it just like a total debacle with Zona and everything? Or, I mean, now that you've got the kids, you have like in-house chefs now stuff, right? Like in your family?
Yeah. No, we have a good time over the holidays. A lot of family stuff. All the way up till New Year's. We had a wedding on New Year's Eve. A close family friend
really?
Got married. So it made the holidays a blur. But like you say, I'm kind of wound up, for it again. Spent a little time with Zona lately, man. We went hunting in Texas. We've kind of been hanging out a little bit. We did a live from my studio. It's just crazy, like you say, how technology's changed. To think back to that first Bass Talk Live, to where bass fishing, and not just bass fishing, but how media has changed since then. I'm starting a new television show. And when I grew up, that was what I looked forward to, is Sunday mornings, the TNN block, with the Bassmasters and In Fisherman and Hank Parker and Jimmy Houston, Bill Dance and Roland and, those guys' shows. Now we still have all that television, but there's so much more. And on top of it, we're live streaming tournaments real time, and not just tournaments, but I mean, everything from high school to college to the Elite Series, the Bass Pro Tour, for every level. So it's a great era to be a fan of the sport.
I don't know if this was your train of thought, but just talking around, it always seemed natural that you would have a TV show when you retired. Has that kind of always been in the plan, always in the back of your mind?
I've always, I've been doing television shows for, Bass Pro Shops, for the Bass Pros and Strike King, and, for other shows, and been guests on lots of them. So it's not new to me. I'm very comfortable with it. And I've always thought, like, man, that at someday, because you never know. I mean, as an athlete, as a competitor, you think it's going to last forever. You want it to last forever. But I'm a smart guy because I'm a sports fan. And I just know that nothing lasts forever. And you want to have something there to go on. And I felt like I've always known that I wanted to host my own show, to to do that. I love teaching people. I love, when you get that feedback and people say, man, that show that I watched, I learned so much. I went out and had one of the best days on the water, or that article that I read, or that YouTube video that you put out just helped me so much. So, I mean, that's really gratifying to me. And that's why I love it. And as a tournament angler, I get that not everybody fishes that way, but it doesn't matter if you're just a casual fisherman or a hardcore competitor. I mean, we're all out there to do the same thing. You got a limited amount of time, limited amount of free time, maybe, that you can get out there on the water, and you want to spend it catching, not just casting.
The first episode right there that I'm running right now is a little bit of promo you jumped on with Z. No brainer to have Z as a part of that.
Oh, it just had to be the history that we have, going back, I've just growing up around it, and, I helped him get his entrance into the sport as a commentator. He kicked off his first show. He was commentating for the Bassmasters. We went through that whole ESPN era, together and all that. So, yeah. And I've been a guest on his show a lot of times. Mm-hmm. And it just made, there was no option other than like, Zona's got to be my first show.
And then talk about where people can watch this, where they consume it. I know that, did you have a moment where did you like sit down in the living room, like pour a cup of coffee or whatever your drink of choice was, and then just watch the debut of it?
Actually, the first airing was while we were out of town for that wedding over New Year's.
Okay.
And so I didn't get to see it on TV. I mean, we're editing them. I'm getting to, see everything. So I knew what the show was. And we put a lot into this first one. To me, it's really special. I wanted to do it correctly, to tell the real backstory, of Zona and I. And it's hard to do in a 30-minute television show because there's a lot more there than that. But it was pretty surreal, though, when we did sit down, with my boys and Cherry and actually watch it on the big TV, that I DVR'd off the Outdoor Channel. So, and that's it. Right now you can get content a lot of places, but I still think, as far as for traditional television, there's no place for the outdoors person to see more better shows and content than the Outdoor Channel. They do it whether it's saltwater, freshwater, hunting, whatever your outdoors adventure is, that they've got the content there. So for this first quarter, it's the place that you got to see it. And there's a lot of different ways, it's on a lot of different cable providers, and satellite. I actually, where I'm at, living in the country, I run it off an app. I run it off of Friendly TV. That's how I get the Outdoor Channel at my house. And there's a lot of different ways. Everybody, depending on where you live, is a little bit different. And that's one of the challenging things in this business, as you know, is letting people know and figuring out, making it easy for them to find where your content is at. So, obviously we have, Facebook and Instagram, and I've got a YouTube channel and all that. And we do a lot of promos across all of it, and to help people there. But my favorite thing without fail is that My Outdoor TV app. And, after the first quarter, all the shows get loaded onto the app too. And that'll make it very easy, because I'm just like you or anybody else. I just can't imagine hardly not having a DVR or not being able to watch on demand. And that's where content and television is going in the future. And, hopefully someday it just automatically uploads right to an app, and then you can watch it at will on your TV. It's just crazy how it's all changed in the time that I've been part of the sport. When I first started fishing tournaments, the main focal coverage was still newspaper. The Bassmasters television show didn't air for months after the tournaments, each time. So it's just crazy how far we've come.
Do you remember the first time you were on TV in a classic?
Yeah, because, I've got some of that footage in the opening of my show. So, there's nothing to me like, the iconic voice of Ray Scott and Bob Cobb. And we worked real hard I'm very grateful to all the people at Bass, Chase Anderson family, for being allowing me to be able to share that historical footage. And you'll see a lot of that in my shows. As we travel and go to some of these iconic places, they're gracious enough to allow me to have some of that historical footage to kind of show what it used to be like, because it's really important to understand, for the future of this sport, it's really important to understand where we came from and the history. And, you're on the board with me for the Bass Fishing Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
What a special evening that is when we have the induction ceremonies there. But again, it's just so critical that, for I think these young anglers today, there's so many, so great, good anglers coming up, but they also need to remember and understand as the sport moves forward where it came from, so we don't make any big mistakes or things like that. There's a lot of controversy in the sport right now, as you know, and but there's also a tremendous amount of positivity, and I just think that it's so critical to not forget the history of where we've been and where we came from.
I feel like there needs to be like some required readings, maybe like if you look in the if I go like this and go in the background of, there you go. I got the Bass Boss. I got the Bass Boss book right there. Actually, for Christmas, I'm trying. Now, I will never reach the level of Ken Duke when it comes to that. But I mean, I got like for Christmas, like I hadn't had the Jimmy one. I didn't know we were going to talk about this. These were added to. So I've got Jimmy's. I needed a new copy of Ike's because I had lost that last one. And then like I'm going like back old school. You talk about that, Kevin. Do you have that book? The Best Bass Pro Secrets by Tim Tucker.
I do. Tim was a great friend of mine, and a real mentor. I mean, he was the pinnacle of media. For senior writer for Bassmaster magazine, and if Tim liked you, he definitely would help you out in a lot of ways. And if he didn't like you, boy, you didn't want to have the wrath of Tim Tucker. But yeah, I mean, Joe Thomas's book. I mean, there's just a ton of them. I mean, there's so many people that have great knowledge, like you say, Ken Duke. But you look at Dave Precht and James Hall, and now Brian Brasher's the new editor for Bassmaster. I mean, the job that they have to be the keeper of the sport, and one of the greatest things ever is the content that JM is producing now on the history of those. I mean, to flip on the TV and see the old footage, I mean, this year right now they're doing the White River series with Johnny and Jerry McInnes and all of that. That is kudos to Bass for taking the initiative, spending the money and the resources to show the history of our sport.
One of the things that I was excited about as I was getting ready for today's show, and you talked about it both in a really good interview that you did with Dave Mercer to kick off the year, and then also in the Zona Live. And I also brought another prop for this, Kevin, is you are all in on the Lindners and the In Fisherman brand. Yeah. And it warmed my heart. Last year, Matt Stefford and I went down a major wormhole to try to catch every master angler in fisherman species, and we ended up catching one in 5 days. But our goal now is to knock all those off the list. I know I think the main, is it Brandon, who does a lot of filming for you, who's like a czar of the salmonoids up there, like the dude, he's like the KVD of Great Lakes salmon. Is that a fair assessment?
He's a dang hog snatcher. I mean, big lake trout, king salmon, walleye. He not so much about pike and muskie, but yeah, for sure, salmon and trout.
Yeah, that's his jam. I actually called him and I was like, so what are the odds that we could catch all these in one day? And he's like, okay, like, wait, master angler size? It was, so we didn't do it. But long story short, I thought it was awesome. I didn't know that you had such an appreciation for the In Fisherman, the history there, the knowledge that a lot of guys from Bass work over there now at In Fisherman. But man, you go back through the archives of that, and that is like just ingrained, I think, in so many anglers' brains and subconscious, those in fisherman shows?
Yeah. So, I grew up as a Northern guy, and, the Linders, they taught us to look away from the bank. I mean, they were the first group to really, look at the science of fishing. And obviously they're multi-species, but you could tell, I mean, and I was really trying hard to get Al Linder as a guest on my first season. And we were trying to put that together to where I was going to go up to Minnesota and film a show with Al, because a lot of people don't know his passion for bass fishing. I mean, his number one fish is a smallmouth bass. His favorite thing to do is catch smallmouth bass. And, he winters in Arizona at Lake Havasu and fishes for him there. But I mean, he just absolutely loves it, still part of it. And the Linders have done an amazing job over the In-Fisherman platform, and now, with their shows that they've got now too. So I really want to do that. I want to have a lot of those people as guests in my show where I can. I'd love to get Bill Dance. I want Al Linder. I got to have Roland Martin. I mean, that guy, I spend enough time with him at Bass Pro openings and stuff. Jimmy Houston, those guys still love it and live it every single day. And the amount of knowledge that they have around the sport and the things, it's just fun to be around them.
Talking with the one and only Kevin VanDam about his new TV show, the VanDam Experience, now airing on the Outdoor Channel. Do you have do you have a list of who you want on as your co-host? Was that well thought out? Like, how did you go about determining who earns a spot next to you for an episode?
Well, it's, I'll just tell you, it's a challenge because all these guys, their schedules are busy, and that's the hardest thing. If you're looking to try to get some of these celebrity guests and, unique people on, trying to get a time window when Mother Nature lines up and their schedule can work, that's probably the hardest thing that I went through in my first season. So my shows are a mix of, solo shows that I do where it's very KVD, I'm my style, educational, kind of me going out and breaking down what I'm doing. I've got, shows with a handful of guests too. And I've got some cool ones, I mean, I got Luke Bryan for a couple of shows this year on my out there. And I've got Frank Ragnow, who's the center for, he's a Pro Bowl, 4-time Pro Bowl center for the Lions now. And he's a huge outdoorsman, loves to fish. And when he retires, his dream is to have his own fishing show. So, I mean, he's a great guest. And as you know, I'm a huge Lions fan. And, I had my boys on as a guest. I had Zona on as a guest. So, and I've got a few more there, but I worked really hard to try to put together Martin Truex Jr. He's a great friend of mine, champion NASCAR driver, and just loves the bass fish, spent a lot of time catching smallmouth in Michigan. But, last year was his final season, and trying to get his schedule to line up with mine is hard. I mean, same with Luke Bryan. I mean, gosh, man, that guy is he's a dynamo. He's always working someplace, he's on American Idol, but he loves it. And I'm really grateful to, get the opportunity to be able to showcase some of these other people and their passion for bass fishing. And, I want to continue to do that.
How important is it, do you think, to bring people from outside the industry who are globally recognized, that share their passion, not only just with fishing, specifically bass fishing, and show it? I know we're going to have Jeffries on later. There was a big thing in bowling when they went to teams, and I think you had like Steph Curry and some other guys that bought bowling teams. You saw a big push in bowling. Obviously, you've got a Heisman Trophy winner, the coach of Colorado. You mentioned Ragnow. Mercer has NHL guys. You're talking about Luke. I mean, these are globally recognized people. Is that the best thing that we can do in the sport, is to bring these people in? Is there a significant bump when you see, your favorite country music star fishing? Does that make people pick up a rod and reel? Does it make them go out and buy a Lew's combo? Does it make them buy 6XDs? Like, is that what really helps, quote, grow the sport?
There's no question that it makes a big impact. I mean, the unique thing about fishing, is that it's not like I'm never going to be a football player, especially I physically couldn't do it. I mean, you can't play that game. Yeah, you might be able to go out and play flag football or enjoy tennis or basketball or whatever, but not at a level like that. And it's whether it's golf or any other sport. I think people are fascinated at watching people that are the best in the world at what they do. And in fishing, I have a lot of these friends that are fascinated with the opportunity to say, like, well, man, just Kevin, you've done it really at a high level for a long time. I'd love to see your approach and do it. So, I mean, it's really neat to get inside their minds. I mean, I would love to get Tom Brady on the boat because, I mean, to me, he's obviously one of the greatest of all time but mentally, just to pick his brain, I mean, and that's what I love to do with all of these guys is get a little bit of insight into their world. And I think that's what people want to see. The show I did with Frank Ragnow is it's we had a great time. We were fishing in Detroit on Lake St. Clair, caught fish. But to me, the part that is really cool is the stuff of us just talking about what it's like on a day-to-day basis to be an NFL player. What you have to go through, what the off season is like, what a practice week is like, what's a game week like, what's a game day rituals, all of those kind of things. And we did all that. We went to the Lions facility and got some great content there, too, with him. So to me, that's the things that I think that people will be really fascinated to learn and see. And that's why I try to bring these unique guests where you get a look into their world a little bit. They get to look into my world a little bit. And at the end of the day, it's a lot of fun.
So the emphasis on the VanDam Experience is the word experience in it.
No doubt. Anybody can go out there and put some fish on. Well, I say most anybody can go out there and put fish on camera. Catching fish is fun, but it's not that entertaining to watch. I mean, people want to watch a fishing show to learn and be entertained. So if you can do both, then you're there. And it needs to, I don't know. I have an idea of what I think my show, how it fits for me. And, I have a level of expectation with the production, and we've got a great team in place that I think we're doing that. I'm, after this first season, we'll definitely take a lot of looks. I'm looking for people's insight. I want to know what people want to see and do and what guests they might like me to be able to try to get on for year two. So, I mean, we're right in the process of that right now. And you can always get better. And as a tournament angler, I mean, I always strive to do that. It's like, you always got to work. You're always behind the scenes. You're always practicing. You're always researching. You're always, trying to figure new things out. It's the same in this side of the business right here. You always got to make your next show better than the last. You always want to bring more to the viewer. You want, you want those shots. You want the behind the scenes. You need to see the underwater and see exactly what that bait looks like as it's going through the hydrilla or whatever it is, so people have a better understanding of what you're trying to show them, whether it's teaching them a new technique or getting behind the scenes with somebody that they never knew had a passion for bass fishing, like one of their favorite, stars out there. So that's the kind of thing that we want to bring on the VanDam Experience.
I like it. You would like, I don't know if you're if you watch a lot of YouTube stuff, but Bryson DeChambeau has basically like completely rehabilitated his image through it. He does a breaking 50 with Tom Brady that kind of goes into that whole thing that you were talking about with the God. Yeah, he would be fantastic to get on a boat, especially something that's a little bit out of his comfort zone where he maybe, you got to work. You got to get your people on that, Kevin.
Yeah, I've got feelers out to a lot of people. A lot of these people have reached out to me, believe it or not, over the last few years, and it's just it's really hard to align with schedules of people that are superstars like that. I mean, what I do is just fun. And it's, to come and film a VanDam Experience show with me is, it's like a vacation. So, you got to kind of plan for it. You got to prep for it and get ready. But we will continue to try to bring, some of the best and unique guests to my world that I possibly can. I have fun doing it. I love seeing their reactions. I love seeing, what they think about it. And it's a blast. Luke Bryan is a great friend of mine, and he is like a kid in a candy store, when I first took him smallmouth fishing up here in the Great Lakes, he was just blown away. It's just so different than what they're used to. And that's what you try to do is show them something that, if they're used to catching largemouth bass out of ponds, it's pretty cool to take them to something that's totally opposite, totally different techniques, baits and things like that they've never seen before.
Well, I also I think part of the cool thing too is you're not giving yourself enough credit there. That's like, playing catch with Derek Jeter for them, or getting on the ice and playing a little pickup hockey with Wayne Gretzky. Like they've been watching you for years there too. So that's got to be a cool dynamic of them going, my God, I fishing with VanDam.
Yeah, no, it's flattering for sure. And it's pretty humbling at times, because I don't see myself as, I'm just a guy that loves to bass fish. Right. And, to be treated anything different than that is pretty unique. I've been so fortunate, so blessed over my career to meet so many interesting, amazing people. I've fished with, both President Bushes, and, I've been around a lot of different professional athletes and a lot of different sports and things like that. And it's so cool to hear their story and to see into their world. And that's the kind of things that, you can't always go that deep behind the curtain and put it on film, just because of a lot of different reasons, like with President Bush. Gosh, man, just the time that we talked when we were fishing on Ray Scott's Lake, and this was, right after Desert Storm and the whole, deal with Saddam Hussein and that. I had to ask him some questions that you just can't broadcast that, Yeah. It is, I have so much respect for, the Bushes and the Bush family and the job they do. Toughest job on the planet for sure. Yeah. But that they both love to fish, pretty cool.
All right. A lot of episodes that are already in the can. I know you can't give away a lot. The first one, the VanDam Experience airing on the. I want a tease of something that's coming this season. Is there a specific fish catch that sticks out to you from this season that you cannot wait until this thing airs to where you can see people's reaction to it?
We had a lot of great moments. For sure. The time of fishing with Luke, just for people to see his real passion for it and, what he's put into it at his place to try to have world-class bass fishing. It's a pretty special show. Probably, and one that I'm very interested to see, because I'm a tournament angler at heart. I filmed a show during the Heavy Hitters event last year, my last final professional event. We were down there for, almost 2 weeks for that event, with practice, with the qualifying rounds, and the way it is, it's like, man, I've got to get a show out of this somehow. So we filmed a show during practice of how I break down a lake for a tournament, or how I break down that particular chain, for that. And I wasn't sure. I just said, even if I don't catch any bass, or if I have a bad practice, it'll still be very informational and be good. So let's try it. Well, it turned out to where we caught a lot of bass. I really got into a lot of really good things. And it's so much more than you can put into a half-hour episode. It's a super challenging edit. I'm actually working on it right now still. And
so you help with the editing?
Well,
you have some input in it.
Brandon does a lot of it, but I look, oversee, and and look at all of it. And, we make a great team all together, and the way that we do it. I mean, our show is, we basically don't spare any expenses on the production side. We're always multiple cameras, we've got underwater rigs, drone stuff, 2 camera boats. We put a lot of emphasis in to make sure that we're really capturing the content correctly, and that it's high quality, to be able to tell a great story. So in the edit, it's important to do that as well too, is to make sure that it's got the right flow and we get all the right pieces in there and we get the supporting footage. And if we can get historical footage, from previous events and things like that from the past, that all adds to it. So that one right there, it's so good, but it's such a hard one to put on film to be able to show the whole story. But I'm pretty confident that, we're going to give it our best to do it. So I'm anxious to see the feedback. I'm anxious to see the feedback on all of our shows. We're just 1 week in right now. This is this, currently we're going to be airing the second show this week, which is East Texas. We're at Lake of the Pines, classic spring, red eye shad, pre-spawn bites, kind of what everybody's getting ready for in the South right now. So it's, timing wise, it's perfect for the fishing season. And, it's a solo show. So the mix and the diversity that we have, I think is pretty unique. But I want to know what people really expect or want to see out of my show as well, because we're going to try to bring it in 26 when, as we film the episodes for this year, try to get the best guests, be at the best places at the best times, and, make it diverse. I definitely don't want to film all my shows on private water. And, we need to go to these iconic fisheries that I grew up, touring on. You got to go to Fork and Okeechobee and Sam Rayburn and Gunnersville and, St. Clair and Champlain and Thousand Island. You got to go to all these places. But I also understand that a lot of people want to see, things in your backyard too. And it's hard for me, as great a fishing as we have up here in Michigan, to not showcase it. I mean, it's pretty dang special. You've fished all around.
It's strong.
And you can go.
It's strong.
Sam Rayburn in the spring is a special place, right? During the, that pre-spawn spawn period. But man, there's a lot of the year that it's tough as dang nails at places like that. Up here, all year long, it's pretty dang good, man. I mean, just like that show that we just aired with Zona, what a nightmare to edit. We caught 150 bass in a day. How do you cut all that down and all the audio in between it? It's a challenge. I mean, how many days in your life fishing in anywhere in the South do you catch 100 bass? Anyway,
not very often,
and it's common for us up here. So that's what, and actually it shows, because if you go to the boat ramps now at St. Clair, I mean, almost every trailer there, more than 50% of them are out of staters, people like making trips and things like that. So because you got that opportunity.
Now we're going to take our first break. When we come back, I want to dive into a couple questions, one of which I see we'll bring Mark in. I hate leaving him. I told him 9:15. He jumped on early, I think, so he can hear. But I do have an idea. I would like a suggestion box. I would like an email to where we could say, hey, what do we want to see Kevin do? And then you could do a YouTube video where you break down all the suggestions in the suggestion box. Because mine is, I want you, because dude, I'm a tournament angler. I want to see Kevin in tournament mode. I want to see that. But here's where I want to see it. I want to see it on a Tuesday nighter. I want to see you roll up, and I want to see you get in a boat with Jim, who's fished by himself in the Tuesday nighters, and you do a show where, hey, Jim, you mind if I hop in? I'll split the entry fee with you. Let's go fish the Tuesday nighter. And people don't know where you're going to show up to the Wednesday nighter. The Wednesday nighter at Thunderbird You show up there, hop in the boat. Like, dude, I would love to watch that. You get the competitive juices flowed. You get to meet a local dude, all those guys, and then you donate all the money because you're obviously going to go 10 for 10.
Yeah, well, you never know. I mean, honestly, the reception that I've got trying to show up to local events in the past has not always been glowing. You know,
you're retired now. You're retired, Kevin.
Well, yeah, people.
I'm just saying that's what I would like.
No, I the majority of guys, especially around my house, here locally, we grew up fishing against each other, and that they would welcome. But I'll just tell you, it's not easy to beat the guys that are fishing a lot of these places every single day. I mean, they just, as well as I do. You go down there to the Texas Team Trail, sign up and see how well you do. There's a bunch of hammers there.
Oh, yeah.
That's true everywhere you go. You go to Lake Hartwell, see what happens. Go to Lake Lanier. Go to Gunnersville.
Well, yeah, you'd have a tough time beating Jamie Rampy on Hart. Yeah, you could just name all the guys that are right there, the top 3 guys that are going to show up. I mean, it's
the beauty is I've prided myself over the years when I show up, and it doesn't matter where it's at. I mean, to be able to go in to someplace and do something different. I mean, in the past, tournaments were never won typically the way that locals expected them to be. They're won so many times in the history of my career by somebody going out doing something totally different that nobody ever really thought of there, with a different bait or pattern or area of the lake that's overlooked or whatever. And that's what, the Elite Series is all about. And that's what the Bass Pro Tour is all about. When they show up, you bring the best of the best there. You're going to see real quick just exactly what your fishery is all about, just how good it is. I mean, biologists, they think they know, they can do shocking surveys and stuff. If you want to find out about your fishery, bring a high-level pro event there, and you'll know real quick what your lake has to offer.
I'm such a nerd, Kevin. So I've listened to the last 2, like I said, especially what you and Zona started talking about. And it led me down a path of psychology. And I came across this article, Thoughts Are Not Facts, Why Believing All Your Thoughts Leads to Suffering. And this is like a whole deep dive into why we have an adverse reaction when we realize things that we thought were true aren't necessarily true, and why you have a tough time adopting that as fact once you've been shown it. And there's a million different directions you could go from that. But as you read that, you go, my God, this all makes sense.
No doubt. The hardest thing for me, in the latter part of my career, is to not be too hard-headed, like to not get so caught up in the past and the things that you saw before. When you go to Gunnersville and it's May or whatever, it's like, oh my God, I know the areas, I know what I need to be doing, but you always have to go with an open mind. And look, forward-facing sonar taught the world that, I believe forever and ever that bass relate to structure, and it's about a depth change, and they're going to be like that, and that is totally false, because as there's a whole population of fish that don't ever even care about the bottom or the bank. They just randomly swim around out in the middle and do what they do. And it's changed fishing forever, just because of that. So we all have our strengths. And at the end of the day, what separates the best anglers in the world, the best football players, the best golfers, whatever it is, whatever sport it is it's what you put in your head, how you process that information and the decisions you make. In tournaments, it's all about decision making and timing. I don't believe in luck at all, never have. There's no such thing as luck. You can be fortunate, like you catch a 4-pounder and you're bringing him to the boat, and you go to swing him in and he gets off in midair. It's fortunate when he lands in the boat and you get him, and it's unfortunate if he bounces off the side, but it wasn't lucky to get him to bite in the first place. You had to make that happen. So you make your own luck in sports, especially in competitive fishing. And the guys that process the information and adapt and make those changes and adjustments the quickest are the guys that are going to win. I mean, and it's what I prided myself with in my career. And I mean, you look at Jordan Lee or, Jacob Wheeler or Dustin Connell or, Brandon Polinick or Edwin Evers or Ott Defoe or whoever it is that's having one of those magical years, is they get in that zone. And I've lived it my whole career, and it's always been fascinating. I mean, I watched Fritz on his Angler of the Year run. I've seen Davey Height do it. I've lived it myself. I've watched, Klon. I've watched, Klein. I mean, you can go on and on and on to see people in that zone, and that's what makes sports so awesome, right? I mean, that's what makes it cool. I mean, whether it's Peyton Manning or Bryson DeChambeau or Tiger Woods or again Jacob Wheeler, they all guys get in that zone, and once you get in that positive mental place and get it rolling, it's hard to kick somebody out of that, or it's hard to knock them out of it. So that's why I'm hoping where my boy Jared Goff's at right now, because we got us a run to go on.
Yeah, that was a big win last night, and you guys are off and what 15-2?
15-2, first time ever in Lions history. I mean, I've been a Lions fan since I was a kid. So I started growing up on Thanksgiving days, watching the Lions with my dad and his brothers, my uncles. And that's how it became entrenched in me at an early age. And it's just not been good. And in the last 20 years, I've become a much bigger NFL fan, followed a lot closer, been pretty close to the Detroit Lions. We used to do the KVD Lions Charity Classics together, where we had a lot of fun doing that. So I've gotten a lot closer to it. Obviously, Zona's a huge football fan. He's a huge Bears fan. And, he's
undefeated really in 25
behind the scenes with it. But to see what Dan Campbell has done there, the change in the mentality to change the culture, which it's already done. Last year was a tough pill to swallow when we lost in the NFC Championship. We dominating through the first half, and that hurt a lot. And in filming this show this year with Frank, and we talked about it. I can tell you this, that team, those players, that building, anything less than the Super Bowl this year is a failure to them. And they believe. And it's no different in tournament fishing. If you go out there and you have questions in your mind about how your day is going to go or what you think you're going to do, it's probably not going to go well. But if you truly believe, if you know it, and I've lived this plenty of times in my career, there's no stopping that. I've had some great runs and, some great events, classics, AOY runs, things like that. And I know when I'm in that zone and when that confidence level, people thought when I was coming up that it was arrogance, like, oh, that kid's cocky or whatever. I just believed. And that's why, I really came up with that whole narrative and initiative. It's all about the attitude, it's because I'm not trying to be cocky. I'm not trying to, be out there and in your face. I believe, it's a state of mind. And as a competitor, there's nothing wrong with that. I agree with a lot of people, when you score a touchdown, just like Barry Sanders, set the ball down, act like you've been there. But there's nothing wrong with showing your confidence going in, and believing in yourself and portraying that. You have to do that. If you don't have that mindset, especially as a tournament angler in this day and age, they will eat your lunch. You better believe you can win. Otherwise, why are you even out there? What's the point?
Good message to start the new year off. We're going to take a break. We're going to bring Mark Jeffries back in. Now, I will say this. I'm going to run an ad to kick things off. One place where you do not have to have any confidence, you really don't have to have much skill, and you are guaranteed to catch big ones, is Lake El Salto in Mexico. Just got back there from last week. Excited to announce a new sponsor to BTL in 2025, Pro Bass Adventures. We're going to take a couple breaks. When we come back, we'll wrap things up with KVD, and we'll bring in the OG, Mark Jeffries. It is BTL kicking things off in 2025. We'll be back right after this. Pro Bass Adventures is reinventing Mexico bass fishing. With boats equipped with 12-inch Garmin units and LiveScope Plus, free loaner fishing rods, and no-cost airport transportation, Pro Bass Adventures is proudly putting you in the best position for success. Pro Bass Adventures has lodges on Lake Baccarat and Lake El Salto, Mexico's two best trophy largemouth bass lakes. Visit probassadventures.com or email probassadventures@gmail.com. The official Mexico fishing lodge of Bass Talk Live.
The new Puma STS has been redesigned from the ground up. With the angler, design, function, and performance in mind, nothing on this new offering was compromised, and the only thing carried over from the previous version is the name. Based on the Soft Touch series hull that started with the flagship Jaguar, this new model is nimble and performs incredibly well at all speeds with either a 250 or 300 horsepower engine. Featuring a new 96-inch wide-body footprint, this hull measures out at 20 foot 7 inches in length. Industry-leading design coupled with tournament-winning performance. The Puma STS from Basscat. Feel the rush.
All right, welcome back. BTL on a Monday with Kevin VanDam talking about his new television show, The VanDam Experience, currently airing on the Outdoor Channel. That first episode, a can't miss, with the one and only Mark Zona, also on all of your social media platforms, really pumping up the YouTube videos out there. You had the live with Zona, all sorts of cool stuff over on Kevin VanDam's social media channel. Do you enjoy doing that, Kevin? Is it a necessary evil, or is it something where you're like, hey, let's pump out this content, let's go live, let's get all this stuff dialed in? Or is that like Brandon going, hey man, like, you know, it helped to go live, it helped if we put this up as a short? Because I mean, you are 4 days a week right now, something's going out on KVD's YouTube channel.
Yeah, we it's just a part of the era that we're in media, is that you have to be, there's no just one place, right? Yep. You got to be on all the social platforms. YouTube's a big deal. And then, you know, the television show on the Outdoor Channel, I mean, they all have their audiences. People like to find their content in different places, and, you know, so you got to be everywhere. So it's no different than fishing a tournament. You got to put the work in, man. You got to put the practice in. You know, it's dark to dark while you're there. If you want to compete against the best of the best, and in this space, it's no different. You really got to put the time and effort in, and we work hard at it to put out quality content that people really want to see and hear. That's going to help them. I mean, in our world, that's what people want. Is they either want to be entertained or they want to learn, and if you can do a little bit of both, then I think it's all good. But I'm having a lot of fun doing it. I do enjoy, really all of it. And it's interesting just to get the feedback from people on what they like. You know, you're never going to please everybody, but we work real hard to put stuff out there in every spot so that we can, make sure that we're appealing to the whole audience.
All right, there he is, Mark Jeffries.
There he is.
I got an echo, Mark. Why do you not have headsets? You started this thing, and now I can hear you through the speaker system. That's an L.
No, I'm in the office. I had to be in the office early. Hang on, is that better?
Test 1 2. Now I can still hear it. Can you hear the echo there, Kevin?
Yeah, I do.
That's very disappointing.
No,
I'm just kidding. That sounded like a little bit like the 3 E's, Mark, that you kind of started back in the day that Kevin was talking about there. The 3 E's of, what were the 3 E's?
Entertain, engage,
and educate.
There you go. Kevin, it's good to see you, man.
It's not hard, is it? No. It's been a time. But yeah, 2011, first Bass Talk Live, to now 2025. How about that?
Yeah, it was good. It's funny. You have a zillion stories in that brain of yours. But one thing that I'll never forget, and I've told Matt about this forever, was when me and Harold Allen were on Lake Oneida covering, I think it was the first time that we were at Lake Oneida. And it was toward the end of the day because we always got off the water a little bit early before the weigh-in started. It was the end of the day, and I told Harold, I said, let's go over to this one shoal that we saw a few guys on earlier and just wait. And guess who showed up? It was you. And Harold was driving the boat. He was up on the trolling motor. And Harold, he kept inching and inching toward you. And I was like, legend, stay away from him. Don't go near him. Stay away. I can get the shot from there. And then you kept creeping closer, and Harold kept going because Harold didn't care. I mean, Harold just kept going. And then you look up at me, and you were having a bad day, and you go, Jeffries, you want a photo? And you casted your jerkbait right at our boat and then started jerking real mad. Is that good enough? Is that a good picture, Jeffries? Turn around, walk away, or turn your boat around, started fishing the other side of the shoal. The cool part was you came up to me after you weighed in your fish, and you said, hey, man, sorry about that. I didn't mean to get mad like that. It was just the moment. That
he was dialed in.
KVD right there. Even though you were having a bad day, I don't know if you remember that, but I will never forget that.
Gosh, I can't say that I do, but I take it seriously always. I'm pretty, there's no doubt that there's been a lot of intense times over the years, but you just got to roll with it at times. I can think of a lot more memorable ones than that.
No,
sure.
Dude, the three that always scared me with Harold were Tommy, because he was always up on and he would always do that thing because he couldn't turn his neck where he'd turn his whole body around when he thought you were too close to take a pit, which is intimidating. Yeah. You, just because you were so fast and moved so much, you never knew. And then not a guy who is not a fan of having any boats around him is Alton. Alton is not Alton was never a fan of the camera boat getting too close, and he would let you know about it. But yeah,
no, over the years it's been that was one of the things that was a challenge that I had to face a lot, is just incredible amount of spectator traffic or people, and there's the worst places are like Guntersville, Tennessee River for sure, Kentucky Lake, because there's one thing if people are out there just they're just wanting to be fans and to watch what's going on, but there's a whole lot of them on those chains they're just trying to get close enough to they're trying to steal your spot. I mean, the second you leave, they're just frothing the water and going all over it, GPSing you or whatever. That was the thing. And what has really helped that now is the live coverage is so good that it's really taken a lot of the pressure off the water. So, I mean, there was a period there for a handful of years where, man, it'd be pretty crazy. I mean, there'd be, 50 or 75 boats following you at Kentucky Lake, or the Classic especially, man, it would be next level. I learned to change my whole style for those summer classics. It's like, hey, it took me a while to figure out that you can't win deep. You can't do it with all that extra boat traffic, that the only fish that aren't pressured are the shallow fish. So, changed my strategy up there and figured it out a little bit and was able to finally, get a classic title or two.
3 years ago, you did a podcast with Dave Mercer where you talked about some specific instances where you shook the crowd. I would recommend that everybody go back and watch those. It's unbelievable, Mark. Like, you had the one where you talked about where you literally drove 50 miles out of the way, and then you only fished the spot in the last hour of the day and still came in with it's just go listen to that podcast with Mercer. And I've listened to that one 2 or 3 times. And that's, to me, where you're like, dude, you're not only the best, but you're the best with the most obstacles. It's unbelievable. Like, you're catching stuff and driving people around stuff just to lose them, so then you could have half an hour to fish before you had to come in. It's nuts. Yeah. It's good stuff, though.
That's how Kentucky Lake ought to be, man. It's a 100% true story, though.
All right. So one of the reasons I wanted to have Mark on was because some major things happened this past year. You had your last 2 tournaments. So like you don't have any tournaments coming up. You had a legend with 3 FLW Angler of the Years and a Bassmaster Angler of the Year, and Clark Wendlandt. He retired. You had the OG Rick Clunn, who still said he's going to fish some opens, but he retired from the Bassmaster Elite Series. Since the beginning of time, since I've known it, one of Mark Jeffrey's staples is the Senior Tour. Mark, is this the time for the Senior Tour to kick off in some form or fashion in the world of bass fishing?
I think so, because of the 3 E's. I mean, how entertaining would that be? How much would the viewers learn? And then the engagement to where you make it a blowout event where they can actually engage and interact with the anglers, some of the greatest names in the history of the sport. And, it doesn't have to be a 6 or 7 or 8 event tour. I mean, you could start out small. You could have a spring event and a fall event. But I think the sport is at the stage where there are so many big name anglers that truly have made this game what it is, that you need that Senior Tour. Some of the most attended events, now I'm not talking majors in golf though, some of the senior events that take place, especially when the Senior Tour first started, were some of the best events from a fan perspective that you could have. And to see some of the iconic players in this game go heads up and then put it in a format where the fans learn and they're able to engage with the players, I think now is definitely the time. Heck, I thought years ago was the time, but now to be able to see some of the legends of the sport go head to head and not have to worry about some of the other noise that's taken place in this industry, I think it would be fantastic. Kevin, what are your thoughts?
Well, there's no doubt. I mean, we've kind of did that some years ago. Johnny Morris put them on down there in Springfield at Table Rock, the Legends tournament,
yep.
Where he had Bill Dance and Jimmy and Johnny fished and, all of those. And they were a blast. And it is, you're right. I have been to those senior PGA events that they've had down there at Top of the Rock, down there at Big Cedar, the golf events, and people love it. And that's the kind of thing you'd have to, instead of maybe a Senior Tour, you start with, hey, it's a Legends event where it's not just anybody, that's fished for so many years or whatever, but they actually get hand selected. It's a privilege to get to be a part of it, make it special. Obviously it needs to be a no entry fee event, right? Yeah. And I think you could, televise it. It'd be good all the way around. It'd be great for fans to be there, be great for people to watch. And it'd be pretty entertaining because we've got some legends that are real characters too.
I think it needs to happen. Listen, I've been around you when your cell phone rings. I mean, it's Johnny. He's like, "What's up, Kevin?" I mean, you've got the connections. I mean, get those guys on, get it out there. I want a date, but the competitive juices. I don't want to just, hey, we're going to go out and catch a couple. I want to see like you see Bernard Lager smoking everybody on the Senior Tour, and guys who can then graduate to when they hit. It would have to be 60 or a certain amount, or it has to be something in fishing just because of different longevity or once you retire. But I want to see you get your competitive juices flowing, even if it's just for 2 days or 1 day. I love that idea. I think that needs to be there in the sport. I think it is a massive missing gap, Kevin. Well,
I'm all in, and you're going to get that as long as you put a purse or a prize there for people to go after. I mean, that's
golden walker.
Is you got to have the carrot at the top. So, man, I'm in. Let's go.
I think 4 a year. Or 3 a year. That's even 3 a year.
Oh, it'd be perfect, because you don't want to just have one where somebody might have an advantage because it's to their, you got to spread it around a little bit. It's better for the fans that way. Mm-hmm. And it really has a ton of potential. it could be really, really special. So maybe we need to, we got to talk to Johnny, or we got to talk to one of the tours about trying to put something like that together.
I mean, dude, you think Guy Eaker's slacks are pressed in an open? Wait until a Legends event. Those things, I mean, they're going to be able to stand up on the front deck without him in it.
Yeah. Well, Roland Martin would have his hair combed for that one.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be unbelievable. You get out there and there'd be like, where'd all these brush piles come from?
Yeah, that's Roland right there.
Some fresh green piles for the senior event. The other thing, and the last thing that I kind of want to talk about, Kevin, and I want to get Mark's input on this, is Bass just came out. They had the Angler Advisory Board that's going to work with Chase in the Elite Series. I know MLF has a form of that as well. We've got the MPAA. We had the PAA, all sorts of stuff. Kevin, you've done this longer than everything. And as far as my memory recollects, you've either chaired or served on every freaking fishing board in the history of competitive fishing over the last 35 years. Is that a fair assessment?
That's a true story. And I know it really bothered me this past year when some of those decisions came down, like when Bass rescinded the no information rule. It killed me, because I worked so hard to try to make this a professional sport, to clean that up to where, we're out there competing on a level playing field. And, fortunately they figured it out real quick and changed it back, but there's no substitute for good communication. So it's critical. I mean, I applaud Bass for, coming up with it, with this angler board. It's not new. I mean, we did it for years and years. But that being said, I'll tell you this too, from an angler's perspective, so many anglers, and I've lived this too many times, they're self-absorbed and they're self-serving. It's hard for them to take a look at it from a big picture, and not be biased for their own personal beliefs or things that would help them individually. That's the challenge that you have to do. I mean, at the end of the day, when you own a business, you've got to make the right decisions that are best for your brand and your business. And that's what Bass has to do. That's what Major League Fishing has to do. That's what every tournament circuit out there, every league has to do for sports. But first and foremost, Bass is a little bit different. They're the oldest. There's a lot of history there, and you have to protect the integrity of the competition and the sport. You have to make rules that are going to, work going forward. And, at the end of the day, the anglers are customers, right? They're paying customers. They're paying entry fees. So you have to provide them with the best platform or the best opportunity. And the best way to do that is to have a board like this where, they may not like every decision that you have, but at least you understand their perspective. Because I'm a tournament fisherman. I've been a tournament angler first. I've always been, for the anglers. I've served on every board. But I also understand that what the anglers think might be the best decision is not necessarily what make financial sense or is going to make the best long-term sense for the brand or the leagues. And that's true. I mean, I've lived it with Major League Fishing. I've lived it with Bass, both. But communication is absolutely critical. And again, getting good information, and they'll do that. They'll have a good board that's well-rounded, different age groups, different anglers' perspectives based on where they're at in their career, and make decisions that should hopefully move the whole sport forward. It's a challenging time right now. There's no doubt that there's a ton of controversy around rules, competition, and the integrity of those rules and the competitors. There's also a huge controversy around technology and where its place in professional fishing right now. And, you know, we've got to find a good balance there and figure it out. This year is going to be super exciting because at the end of the day, if you don't have a product that the fans want to watch, you don't have a sport. So, you know, the NFL changes the rules based on that. As you know, baseball, they do golf. I mean, NASCAR, you have to make sure that you're providing a product on television or wherever you're broadcasting the live stream that people want to watch. So it's going to be really interesting with the NPFL, with no forward-facing sonar, Major League Fishing with the restrictions that they're having on it, and then, you know, bass basically just limiting the number of screens and that, you know, I mean, where there's really not a lot of limitations to your forward-facing sonar, to see what viewers and fans really like. I mean,
you're a fan now, aren't you? You're a fan.
Oh, I've been a fan.
I know, but I mean, you don't have any skin in the game in the organizations. You're watching this as Kevin VanDam, host of the VanDam Experience.
Well, I do have skin in the game because this is my sport that I've grown up around. I've got a lot invested in, and I love it. And it matters to me that this sport is healthy, it's positive, and, you know, that we go about this the right way. So it really does. It's a big deal to me what, you know, the decisions that are made going forward for the future of it, because just like I said before, the history is really important. You know, you could say whatever you want about each era in bass fishing, but for this sport to go forward, to be healthy and to grow, you've got to make everybody happy. You know, it's got to be good for the league. It's got to be good for the anglers. And most importantly, it's got to be what the fans want to watch and want to see. And that's a tough balance right now. That's a real tough balance. And there's no easy answer. You know, if there was, we'd already be there. But I think this year will be a good measuring stick to see. And at the end of the day, the fans have the loudest voice. That's what's going to dictate a whole lot of the future is viewership. If you don't like what you're seeing, you know, then don't watch it, and the ratings will show it, and they'll have to adjust or die. I mean, that's just the simple truth and the fact of it is that you've got to provide, you know, the best platform out there for the anglers and for the fans if you want to be the best there is out there. And that's what the leagues are looking at. That's, you know, what the anglers are fighting for. And ultimately with social media and, you know, fans having the voice that they do now, that's what's got to happen.
Well stated. I have one more question for you that I've always wanted to know over the last 4 or 5 years. I have an opportunity to ask it. What do you think the Pittsburgh Classic would have been like with Mega Live 2? Because I just look at how Aaron was catching them on that. Look at how you were catching them with the old Rogue like that.
It would have been a total different deal, because especially knowing what I know now with after using forward-facing sonar so much, that, you know, we were fishing around bridges because that was the structure that they would hang around. But I'll guarantee you, as low as the water was, as little as the current was, and the way those fish were roaming and suspended, it would have changed everything up there, because you could just, you know, troll around and use your Mega Live 2 and find those individual fish just out there in the river anywhere and catch a whole lot more of them. And we were just so limited because we didn't know any better. Now we do. So
I just always think about that tournament. Like, I go back and look at like what if you could have and place technology or certain baits or anything back in other tournaments, and that Pittsburgh Classic with that technology, I've always thought that would have been crazy to go back and seen what that was like.
Yeah. Well, I'm no hypocrite, believe me. I mean, I can promise you over my career that I capitalized on technology as much as anybody out there. When it was, you know, first thing it was side imaging, you know, then we had 360, then, I mean, Lake Master mapping. I mean, I have won a lot of tournaments by utilizing technology on the forefront of it. And now with forward-facing sonar, it's just when you add all of these things in, the mapping is so good. The side imaging is so good. We can see all the structure all around the boat with a Mega 360, and then you get real-time feedback with Mega Live. It's like, how do you think the fish have a chance? But they really do. And what's really cool is that bass fishing as a whole nationally has never been better. I mean, it's never been better than what it is right now. I mean, there's some fisheries that are maybe on a little bit of a decline here and there, and that's our true testament to the anglers, to conservation, to fish care, fish management, the tournament organizations themselves, awareness, and most importantly at all, the everyday average angler understanding, the resources that we have out there and the importance to protect them. I mean, there's nothing wrong with keeping a few fish here or there by any means. People do it all the time. But to see the state of our fisheries where they're at nationally right now, these are the good old days. Even with all this technology, the best baits, the best tackle, rods, reels, boats, lures, electronics, all of it, it's still the best it's ever been.
Mark, anything else for KVD? You're staying on, Mark, because we got a lot more to talk about.
Okay. No, it's just great seeing you. It's funny. When I truly retired from UPS and then when I kind of walked away and continued to do what I'm doing, when you retire, man, your days are just as filled, if not more filled than when you were actually doing your job. Is that the case, Kevin?
Mark, let me be real clear. I should have never, I don't like the word retire. I never retired. All I did was change jobs, and I started a new business. And if as you know, because you've started several new businesses in your life, there's no substitute for the amount of work that goes in. You get out what you put in, and that's what we're doing. So it's a new venture. It's a new chapter for us. I am far from retired. I mean, my days are full.
Hey, real quick, when I recently moved, I ran across a magazine story that was in a bowling magazine, and it was Steve Zabina, who used to work for Evernight International, and they showcased the event and did a story on the event that we had in Del Rio that one year with you and Zona and Steve and myself.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Dude,
That was awesome.
20 years old.
I got my own shoes out of it.
I know.
I got two balls. I learned so much about bowling, and I've always loved to bowl. But when you and Steve got with Zona and I on that to do that was a ton of fun. And you really improved my game. I can tell you.
I did. Yeah.
He hasn't helped me once. The only thing he did was he gave me 20 pins the one time we played, and I literally bowled the game of my life. And then he was so upset that the next time he gave me 5 pins and then beat me by 200.
Yeah.
That's the extent of Mark Jeffries helping me in the bowling alley.
Hey, it is what it is. Hey, by the way, Kevin, recently there was a lot of research done, and Detroit was voted or selected as the #1 bowling city in the nation.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty cool because right now we're arguably the #1 football city in the nation.
You are. Oh, I bet Kevin doesn't even know the #1 bowler in the world has had a Strike King fishing logo on his bowling jersey.
Yeah, Chris Prather.
Wow.
Sponsored by Strike King because he's a bass fisherman. Do you have the jersey there, Mark, or is that in the other studio?
No, it's back home. I don't have it here. It's cool.
There's a new guest for the show right there.
Oh, he would
lose his mind. This dude is hardcore. He's on Team USA.
Yeah. I could get that set up, Kevin.
Well, that's what I got to do next. I got a call here for just a minute. So I'm actually, in my retirement, I'm also the coach of the USA Bass team. So we're getting some planning stuff going around.
Fantastic. I need to have you back on to talk about that.
Hey, man, great seeing you, Kevin.
You bet. Guys,
thanks, Kevin. I appreciate it. Congrats on the KVD or the VanDam Experience. Now you're on the Outdoor Channel. check your local listings, and then you can get it on the My Outdoor TV app afterwards and see it everywhere. And then if you want more stuff, you can go to his YouTube channel where he puts out stuff like every 3 hours. Thanks, Kevin.
Hey, looking forward to a great 2025, guys.
Same here. All right, the one and only Kevin VanDam. Look, I'm going to pop this up. I didn't throw it up while he was on there. Look at that.
Oh, wow.
That was the first time that I met Kevin VanDam. That was March of 1998 at the Casting Kids deal. I'm wearing look at the tracksuit that I'm wearing.
Oh, good Lord. Was that satin?
No, that was one of those baggy. It was purple. I know that because
It's not satin.
No, and
rayon. Was it rayon?
That is a handmade hemp necklace that I made where I would go to the arts and crafts stores and then get the beads.
Oh,
how about that?
That's impressive.
Pictured here with 2-time Angler of the Year, Kevin VanDam.
How old were you?
12, 13. At that point, I was 12.
Wow.
Wait, yeah, 1 second. 84.
12?
No, it's 13.
That's all right.
I was 13.
That's awesome. That's cool stuff right there.
That's wild. You good to stick around and chat? Because I got some stuff I want to chat with you about to kick off the new year. We're going to take a break. When we come back, more with Mark Jeffries. It's BTL on a Monday. Big shout out to KVD for jumping on. He's doing the media tour for his new season of the VanDam Experience. So we'll be back right after this.
Your early morning mentality is your every hour mentality. All gas, no brakes. Focus, purpose, power. Destined for the water, but confident everywhere else. A calming buzz before the storm, the truth of nature itself. You can't catch lightning in a bottle. There's a limit out there, but it's not with your gear. Unrelenting power delivery. Unparalleled weight savings. Keeping you on the water, whether you run a 9.9 or outscoping your best 5. In this rare air, there's power in the silence. It's a mindset, thinking only of the things that matter and freeing your mind from the things that you trust.
Get the best patterns backed by tournament data. Start by finding the best 10% of your leg. Know exactly what to look for and what to throw. After that, just put them in the boat. Try the Deep Dive app today.
Look at that beast right there.
All right, welcome back. BTL on a Monday, talking with Mark Jeffries. Try to get Mark on every now and then just to catch up with the man. Kevin looks good, Mark, doesn't he?
Oh, he does.
Dude, he seems like super excited, dialed in.
Hey, by the way, is my audio better now?
Yeah, your audio's great.
Okay.
I'm just giving you a hard time at this.
No, I'm sorry. I'm in the office. I had to get here early. But I want to mention this. That ProGride commercial spot that you ran.
Yeah.
That's one of the coolest commercials I think I've seen.
Yeah, there's a bunch of cool commercials now.
That was really, really good.
So I run that.
Together?
No. That was ProGuide. So I run that later in the show because I go through about 3 coffees a show, and that segment there lasts 1 minute and 22 seconds. So if I've got to go take a leak, I can typically. Did you see me like running out of the studio there?
Huh.
I could get that job done in 1 minute and 22 seconds. all the others I end up with like dead air.
Yeah.
But no,
that was really good.
So here's what I find interesting. I feel like there was an assumption, an unfound assumption that TV was a dying media source. And I say that it's unfounded because I know that Andrew Upshaw, who has the Let's Fish TV, we jump in on that every little now. And then Kevin started this new thing. I still think there is a vibe, like a very demand for TV, except what I wasn't thinking of now, it's basically like on-demand TV. So instead of having to like TiVo it or whatever it is back in the day or watch it live during it, it's still a TV show, but now it's on demand. And what you're seeing them also do with the TV shows is spin off and make a lot of web-based content around the TV show. So what used to be, hey, it airs once, Zona's awesome fishing show or the world's greatest fishing show or Dave Mercer with the facts of fishing, and if you missed it, you had to wait until it re-aired. Mm-hmm. Well, now you have it, you're re-airing it, you have it on demand, and there's 10 pieces of social media content that surrounds that one show, which makes TV a viable platform, although consumed differently than traditionally used to be done.
I think the trend, and you can tell in just what the consumer activity is, and some of the stuff that I've read over the past 6 months, that the on-demand route, this is why networks are having like CBS and Paramount Plus, where they get all this stuff and the consumer actually watches whatever they want to watch when they want to watch it. And it's not a big deal anymore unless you have something that is truly live, like live sports. Like, I don't think anybody's going to, be concerned about watching the Minnesota-Detroit game on demand. No, they want to watch it now. They want to watch it live. But from an entertainment standpoint, in what I would refer to as mainstream television, on demand is where it's going. I mean, one of the most watched television series currently right now is on demand and on demand only. You know what that is?
Was it the oil one?
Yeah, Landman.
Yeah, I just watched the first 5 episodes and said I got to take a break. Or first 4, I split it up into 2 binges instead of 1.
Yeah, and Netflix is doing something tonight that they've only done one other time, but they've never done it in this field. Monday Night Raw, the WWE is now going to be live on Netflix tonight.
Okay, I want to get your opinion on this. I have it written down. I think it is time for Bassmaster to go back to the fully produced 1 hour, you don't know who won the tournament, acting like you don't, recap shows with the intro and the build up and the suspense, because now anybody who is in the game, who watches live, who follows it, who listens to, we all know everything that's going to happen, which was the downfall of that 1 hour show. And they've tried multiple things, and you've talked about how you need to have it like where, hey, this is the guy who won. He's going to break down how he won. Now, I think with as much as there is, those who don't watch the live and know to go to bassmaster.com and all that, I think there's not even a nostalgia element, but to put it all together, because now there's so much that it's hard to figure out what happened every single day, because there's so much live and so much content. It is time to condense that back down into a 46-minute thing where you get the feel for it. You get the intro, you know what's going on, what's at stake for Angler of the Year, what's at stake for Rookie of the Year, what's all that. You build up the momentum. You have the 2-minute intro like you do for the NFL games that are live, and you put that back out in a consumable 1 hour, high intensity, high drama product like they used to.
Man, that's kind of a tough spot. It's a very intriguing take, but I think what truly is unknown, people say, or the organizations say they know, but I really wish, Matt, and I think everybody out there listening and watching to this truly had a good understanding and a very reliable number on how many people are truly watching the live stuff. Okay? How many people are truly watching what is taking place on FS2 or FS1, whichever one it's being broadcast and live stream on? Because then do you have a product that would be more visible, because you're going to know who won. I mean, you can't keep that a secret. Okay? How many more people would want to watch, or would more people want to watch, if it was a fully produced show with the guy that won sitting right there explaining how rather than who? Because when you're watching the live stuff, I mean, most of the people, yeah, they want to learn stuff, but it becomes more about who is going to win. Whereas if you go with that format that you're talking about, now it's about how. The one thing that would make it better is if the fans during that show, when it was taped or when it was live, I think it would have to be live. In other words, you've got all the footage in the can and you do a live show with the guy that won. The one differentiation between everything else is the fans being able to engage with the guy that won when he's explaining how he won. Now you got a difference maker.
I don't think people care. I think if you want to get more people, I don't think they care how they won. Like if I'm watching,
that's what I'm asking.
I don't think they care. I want the drama. I want to put it all together in a deal with a 2-minute promo piece and put all that live coverage, combine it into 48 minutes.
I just don't think you can do that.
So I can watch the whole thing. I think every single person that watched it live would watch the recap too.
I don't know, because I think it's more about who than it is how.
I think
and if you have a repetitive component, then I think it's how you put that show together with the guy that won. That's an interesting take.
I think it's time to go back to the TV show.
I love that show, man. I've mentioned it several times when we had the show about how we would rush home after the Sunday jackpot at Grand Lake so we could get home to watch the Bassmasters on TNN because it was on Sunday evenings.
And I'm not saying anyone would rush home for this, but I think that it's a needed piece of content that there's so much content now that this puts the content out there.
Yeah.
Again,
it's an interesting take, man. I think it's a cool thought. I would definitely want to get the fans' perspective on that because one, it's very expensive to do that. I mean, it is. You think covering a live event is expensive to produce it at the level that it needs to be done at now would take a substantial amount of money. But is TV dying? I think we're in an in-demand atmosphere.
I thought it was, but I think TV as we know it's dying. But I think with Kevin doing it, Kevin's not going to do anything that's not there. I mean, you look at the other shows, I don't think it is. I think in the traditional sense of, hey, we need to be home at 6 o'clock to watch something, that's been dead for a long time. Here,
yeah.
You not want this for all of these shows? I think we should have audio.
3 events so far this year, 3 monster lakes. And here comes another one. There's a reason the Bassmasters have been here 29 times before. The reason is you can catch them at Guntersville lots of ways. It's a ballpark that anglers in the world can't wait to play on. They're ready to compete.
Wow.
John, with a lot on the line.
Oh, man. Never give up. Yeah! Woo!
I mean, that's badass, Mark.
It is.
That ties everything together.
But did we know who won when all that was being produced?
I mean, yeah, because we had BassZone.com that you were there. That was. I'm just saying, like, I like those standalone pieces, and I know that you've been a fan of them, not been a fan of them, said it was time to go away, but now I think it's time to go back to a standalone piece that encompasses everything that happened. Otherwise, in order to get a feel for the tournament, you have to watch it for 4 damn days.
I agree. I think it is an asset that would do the brand a lot of good, and I think it would be great for the fans. There's a lot of, you can't forget about the DVR situation too, because a lot of people will DVR the whole thing, then they'll go back and they'll watch. They hear, what happened at a certain time, and they'll go back and they'll watch what happened.
Mm-hmm. And I know, yeah, MLF is doing that. They've done that with the stuff on Discovery and all that kind of recap shows, where you still know, if you're a diehard guy and you watch it, you know what happened. But I mean, that 99% of people, or if you're in a diner watching it or something, you have no clue.
You know what an interesting stat would be, Matt, and we've talked about this before, is how much time does the viewer spend, actual time, watching the live coverage? 20 minutes, an hour, 15 minutes? I'm very curious what that number is.
Mm-hmm. And how much of the time is it just on in the background? Or
Well, it's on 4 hours sometimes,
Yeah.
is it not?
I'm not saying one small tweet. And this has nothing to do with an increase in viewership. This is just something that I think would be valuable that I want to see. Like, here's the other thing, Mark. So there's a lot of people that think like, oh, this thing's in the crapper, the fishing and all. Like, I do not feel that way at all. Like, you're a little bit on the outside. You talk to a bunch of people.
Yeah.
You have guys that are saying how tough everything is and all that. I do not feel like I have faith in bass. I think they made some mistakes. I'm 100% would say that I have said that to their face. For the most part, the most respectful way possible. Yeah. Not that I have any additional move or anything, but I have faith that Chase Anderson is doing what he thinks is best for the company and for the anglers. I have no problem still giving Bass my money. I'm thankful that in 2025, I have a platform that I can compete on. I think that MLF is doing a lot of great things. Like, it seems like the trend now is to downplay, like, it's the downfall of the sport. And I don't think that's the case. And I know a lot of other anglers that I've talked to, they don't think that's the case either. I've talked to guys that are like, dude, like, you know, they're having very solid 2025 years. Have they had to adjust what they've done? Have they had to look at it from a different year and say, what's valuable to my sponsors now that wasn't valuable 5 years ago, and what isn't valuable now that was 5 years ago? Mm-hmm. Absolutely. But for the most part, I think the guys that are complaining or that are saying it's the downfall and stuff are the guys that don't understand change and adaptation. And what your favorite word is, the whiff 'em.
Yeah. Yeah. 2 measurements, Matt, you know, and you're right. I am removed, but I call it dipping my toe in the pool. I still stay connected a little bit, you know, and some of the friends that I have that I still speak with. But there's 2 measurements. One, are people lined up to fish BASS tournaments?
Yes.
Okay. The second element would be, is Fox going away? Is Fox saying, hey, we want nothing to do with this anymore?
No.
I think those are 2 elements right there that kind of define where the sport is. Now, is there trouble in that sphere? I don't know if trouble's the right word. Is there challenges in that circle of what's taking place in the world of professional bass fishing? Absolutely. But it's that way in every single business. It doesn't matter what it is.
But like Kevin said, is that not positive that they made the angler committee and that Bass chose to recognize them and that they went back and they made the changes?
There's 2 words. When you put those committees together, there's 2 words you have to execute. Okay. One, you cannot be reactive. You have to be proactive. In other words, committees cannot be put in place because of stuff that's taking place where other people feel that it's unfair or not the better thing to do or whatever. That is reactive. Committees and advisory boards, you have to be proactive and look at what the evolving atmosphere is of whatever you're overseeing. All right. When all you do with a committee is react to situations that you as a committee should have identified, you as a business should have identified long before they happen, that's when it turns into a circle of chaos. Mm-hmm. All right. You have to be proactive. You have to be looking at what I've said all along, Matt. You have to make the sport better. It's not about growing it. You have to make it better for all 3 parties involved, the anglers, the owners, and the sponsors. All right. You can't do that all the time by being reactive rather than being proactive. And I think a lot of the chaos and unhappiness right now in what's going on is because of the reactiveness rather than not the
okay. Let me ask you this, Mark.
Seeing how things are evolving.
does every professional angler in the sport, or that fishes, or tournament angler at that level, do they have an obligation or responsibility, plug in whatever words you want, to make the sport better? Do they have, should that be on every single person on the Bassmaster Elite Series and the Bass Pro Tour, and then however far down you want? Should part of their goal, every single one of the anglers, to make the sport better? Or Kevin mentioned a consumer, where consumers, right? Or where, what word did he use? Is it our job to say, what can we get out of this? We're customers. We're paying customers. I don't really care about the organization. I just want to make sure I'm getting out of it what I'm getting out of it as a customer. I don't care if the grocery chain folds. I just want to make sure that my tomatoes are fresh today. And if they are, and that folds, I'll go to a different grocery store. So where is the onus on the angler? Is there one? Because this is something that I'm struggling with right now, because there are certain anglers, to me, who it feels like are treating it, they are getting as much out of it that they can without giving anything back to it. And I think that's been a lot of the backlash we've seen with certain anglers over the past year. I'll say it, over the past year. Is that a bad way to look at it on my end, or that we're better based on what you just said? Should there be an onus on the angler to make the sport better?
Well, let me just say this. Every single angler, no matter what organization you're fishing with, what is that, man? That is a choice. You have a choice. If you earn the opportunity to be a part of that organization, that's still your choice.
Right.
Agree?
Yes.
So whatever you choose, yes, it's a dynamic of you have to protect your brand. But at the same time, if you choose to position your brand, your individual brand, with the brand that you're competing with, then yes, you want to do everything you can to make sure that both brands exist and coexist to where it gives you the optimum opportunity to be successful. How is success measured in that position that if you make a choice to fish the Elite Series? What is the measurement?
It's kind of independent for each person, isn't it?
No. See, that's where we might get into a debate here. What is the ultimate measurement of success if you choose to put your brand with whatever brand that you choose to
make a living doing it? You
make
earn
a living,
money.
make
you can
money.
Feed your family. You can
exactly. So you have to do what is in the best interest of your brand, because you truly are an independent business person. So if you choose to place your brand underneath the umbrella of the brand that you're competing with, then yes, you would want that brand to be the best that it could be.
So you should be making it better.
You should be making it better.
Because as that brand gets better, your brand gets better.
Now, if the brand doesn't get better and it's not going in the direction that you feel it should be going, I'm going to go back to the word choice. You have a choice, all right? But if you put in an extensive effort to help that brand blend with your brand and make both brands better, and you got rejected, or you hit a brick wall, or it's not just going to happen, then it falls back on you because you have the choice.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Do what you can to make it better. Mm-hmm. Place input where you can place input. Show direction where you can show direction. Hey, if they don't want to go down that path, then guess what? You have a choice to leave.
Yeah, that's fair. So do you want to know where I'm kind of stuck at with BTL right now? So I could do that. I'll just assume that was a yes. No? Here's where I'm stuck at, Mark. I'd love to get your. I'd love to. This is a conversation that we shouldn't be having live, but we're having it live because I'm very curious about this. So there's three things right now, right? So and we talk about the 3 E's. So there's like tournament coverage and getting to know the guy who just won the tournament and kind of his backstory, how he found the fish, how he won it, that type of thing, right? Mm-hmm. Which we've done a ton of shows on BTL. There's educational stories like Mike McClellan coming on and doing 2 hours on a mixed stick and his exact details, how he developed the bait, why the bill is like it is, what line does it, how he weights it, how he puts a split. Like there's that type of show too. And then there's, what's going on in the industry, what's happening in the tournament world, who's getting in trouble for this, who's doing that. It's like a industry kind of expose shows, right?
Mm-hmm.
So to me, those are the three different kind of type. And then you could also throw human interest in there every once in a while. You'll have like a Fred Kintawi on that's like, after I found rare flowers for the U.S. government for 3 years, I went and participated in like a sturgeon catching thing funded by the state. Then there's just guys that are just interesting guys. Those are the four types of shows. What I'm kind of struggling with is how to divvy that up. Like, what is entertainment and salacious, where it's like, hey, 30, 40,000 views on this? What is educational? What is already flooded in the industry? And then what the listener base really wants, which I have. Is that fair to be struggling with that type of direction?
Well, it's not a direction because it's actually present, because you're doing all three of those.
Right.
Okay. So direction wise, you're already at a point. Now the decision that needs to be made is, do I continue with that separation of those three elements, and how much do I divvy up each of those three elements? But
or do I just pick a path on one?
Yeah. I'm going to throw something else out there. What have I always told you, and what did I always try and do no matter what we had going on, Matt?
Something new every single year?
Well, no, you tried. I really worked hard in developing something that somebody else wasn't doing.
Right.
In other words, always thinking ahead of, all right, what's the next step? What's the next thing that could create that separation between us and the competition? And it's no different than what people do in business, man. If you keep making the same, I don't know, microphone, and you never change that microphone in 20 years, eventually the consumer, even though it's a great microphone, if you don't add features to it and, put in more noise reduction or whatever, people are going to start buying your competition. So I think you're at a spot. All right. Your direction is definitely defined, but you have to do what both of us together, we're very good at it, coming up with, all right, what's the next thing that can be covered, that can be entertaining, that can be engaging, that can be, educational to the viewer base that we have for a zillion years. Mm-hmm. That's what you have to come up with.
I guess kind of what made me think about that was, right now, a lot of what is, I guess, deemed as wrong in the industry is getting, I believe, a lion's share of the publicity.
Yeah.
But there's still a tremendous amount of stuff that is good that is going on.
Mm-hmm.
That I guess right now it's just not trendy to talk about that stuff.
Well, here's the other thing too, is the identity of the show that we've created, and even from the start, it was really not, we weren't going to dive in and be that, I don't know, rumor mill, speculative, talk about the dirt 24/7. I mean, that wasn't what I referred to as a journalistic approach to the sport. And is there a place for that? Yeah. I mean, it's obvious that some products that are out there have chosen that route.
People are watching it.
And it's like every time you're on the freeway, and this is kind of old school, but you see, 2 fire trucks, 2 ambulance, a bunch of police cars. What do you want to do? You want to look and you want to see, oh man, what's going on?
Yeah.
You can't get close to that accident without wondering what happened. And then once you get there, you find out what happened. Well, with all, and it's not just bass fishing, dude. It's everything. Like right now, there's something going on in college bowling that it is the story, but you know what? Nobody's talking about it, which is weird, and I don't understand it. Because if it was any other sport, it would be on ESPN at the opening of the show.
Can you say what it is?
Yeah. The greatest collegiate program in the history of college bowling got in trouble, all right? And 6 of their events, I believe the number is 6 of their events, their participation in those 6 events has been DQ'd.
What were they doing?
That nobody will say anything. Nothing. 0.
Oh, that's big.
It's like Duke doing something wrong and having to vacate 12 games.
Alabama in football, or
yeah, but nobody's saying a word, and I don't know if everybody had to sign a disclaimer. I don't know. It's the weirdest thing, Matt. But like I just before the show, I did my monthly top 20 coaches poll voting.
Yeah, and
I sent a text to a friend of mine. I was like, "Hey, is Wichita eligible?" And he goes, "They're in trouble, but nobody knows what's going on." And then when you look at their results, they only have 2 tournaments.
The Shockers, right?
Huh?
The Shockers.
Yeah. So,
wheat.
I guarantee you, and there are bowling podcasts out there. If one of the bowling podcasts jump all over that.
Oh, yeah, I'd watch it. I don't give a damn about bowling. I mean, I do, but you know what I mean? Like, I'm not like a...
But nobody knows, and they haven't come out with a statement, and...
Wow.
It's just weird. Now, the way things are set up in the fishing world, dude, anything happens, it blows up. Agree?
Right now, yeah. Anything that happens blows up. Yes.
I just
and then it's forgotten about the next week.
I just think that you have worked extremely hard in the identity and the journalistic approach that this show and this brand has established, that, yeah, it's okay to mention it in one show, but it should not be the focus of the entire platform to talk about crash and burn stuff.
That's fair. We're doing more on the water stuff this year, Mark.
I like it.
Live stuff.
I think, once again, that is a difference that the competitors are not doing. Hey, you see that one comment? I want Mark's opinion on 2 things: drones and college football.
Oh, God.
The drone thing, I have no idea. All right. I think it's kind of, I don't know. I have no idea what's going on with that. The college football playoff, this is the best thing to happen to college football in years. It's awesome. It's great. Did you watch the Arizona
I've watched
State?
Every single one of them.
The Arizona State-Texas game was incredible. Boise State, it was closer than the score indicated. I think the only thing that might be a little kind of out of whack is the ranking.
Yeah, they'll fiddle with that to get it right. But yeah, no, I'm on that.
But it is big time. It is great.
All right. So you sent me this video. I do want to, before we wrap things up with our first 2-hour show.
Hey, by the way, yes, Pete, absolutely. NIL is ruining everything in college sports. It sucks. That and the portal.
Yeah.
What are you doing here?
I want to show that video that you.
Oh, it's super long, man.
It's not. Is this not the one you sent me? The new look of college.
Minutes.
Oh, this is only 1 minute.
No, it's like 7 minutes.
Where is it? Is it on the website?
It's snubowling.com/Mid-South.
I just want to run the beginning of it.
Yeah.
And then also you had apparel that I know people would have purchased. You never let me know when it was live.
I know.
Dave Rush was the only one who bought like a hat or something.
I know. We'll get that taken care of next year.
One of the things I'm doing in 25 is we will have a permanently open BTL store starting before the Classic. So
good move.
You want a t-shirt, you want a standard hat, and then we'll do special drops around it. We'll have like a standard Uncle Frank design that's available, but you can go on and get that not just for the 2-week period then.
Hey, before you get that queued up, just dude, it's 2025. I mean, this is the 20-something year that this thing has been around. Keep doing what you're doing. You're the leader.
Yeah, no, I am. I was just
You're the
chatting
leader
with you
in
on
this
it.
game, Matt.
I was just chatting with you. And plus, I mean, I do stuff that I enjoy. All right. Like you enjoy building.
Did you find it?
Oh, heck yeah, I found it. I just got to add the audio, and we'll just watch the first one. All right, here we go. You ready?
Yeah.
This is brand new for this year.
Yeah.
So, as the head coach of SNU bowling, here we go. I haven't seen this. I've seen it on my phone. I haven't seen it on a.
Under center. Pitch on the edge to Robinson. Makes a cut. Touchdown, Oklahoma.
What is the meaning of blue blood? What is a blue blood program in college football? Blue bloods are considered the most elite within the sport. These programs have a deep history of national titles and are consistently ranked in the top 25 in the nation and have been nationally relevant over multiple years. So, who are the blue bloods in college football? Alabama, Notre Dame, Ohio State, Oklahoma, Texas, Emporia State. Are there blue bloods in college bowling? Well, before I answer that question, let's go back to Emporia State. What would happen if Emporia State competed in the Big 12, the Big 10, or the SEC? They'd probably get crushed. Emporia State just does not have the talent or the resources to match up to any school in the SEC, Big 10, or Big 12.
We're just going to listen to
So
this.
what programs would be considered blue bloods in college bowling? From a statistical standpoint, over a 10-year period between 2013 and 2023, we put together a ranking process where programs receive 75 points for a national championship, 50 points for a runner-up, 25 points for a semifinal appearance, and 10 points for making it to nationals. The top 10 schools were Wichita State,
they're in trouble.
McKendree,
So I've heard.
Weber International, Wisconsin Whitewater, Lindenwood,
Good hockey team.
St. Ambrose, Midland, Calumet College, William Patterson, and Lawrence Tech. Would these programs be considered blue bloods in college bowling? The answer is yes. Currently, college bowling has no separation between the blue bloods and the up-and-coming lower-tiered programs. And that's okay. This situation is resulting in an opportunity for programs to develop a different type of competitive environment, an environment of wins and losses, home games and road games. We feel that we have an opportunity to develop a true competitive environment for the student athlete. This is the Mid-South Conference of the College Bowling Athletic Association. New look, new format, new opportunity.
All right, that's enough. There's more to it. But
Wait. Oh, yeah. So, hold on. So you started a new bowling conference or helped?
Yeah. So here's part of my frustration. Okay. We spent $9,642.15 to go to Las Vegas for 2 Tier 1 events. We finished 22nd and 28th in both of the events out of 55 teams.
That's not bad.
But during the format, they had what is called Baker match play, and there were 4 games. You weren't competing against the team itself. Anyway, we beat the number 1 team in the nation 3 out of 4 times in Weber International. Then we beat another top 5 team, St. Ambrose, 3 out of 4 games. We had nothing to show for it. 0. So I started talking to some of the other coaches in programs that are geographically located around me. And after a 2-hour conversation in a sports bar because there was no place to sit in the casino and get away. So they have this sports bar. We sat there and we came up with the Mid-South Conference. And there's some big name schools in this. They're just not big name bowling schools yet. Because when you show up to these tournaments, Matt, you just show up and bowl. You don't bowl against anybody. So we're actually creating a platform and an opportunity for kids to compete team versus team in singles, doubles, and Baker team matches.
Does everyone have this?
No.
Look at that. You got like on the website SNU bowling, like the men's team, you got it like just dialed in. You have one guy from Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Wisconsin, Oklahoma, Pennsylvania, Kentucky, New York, Arkansas, Hawaii. I bet that was a fun recruiting trip.
No.
Did you go to Hawaii?
No, I didn't.
Oh,
no.
Pennsylvania, Colorado, Nebraska, and Ohio.
Yeah. Anyway, so, I'm doing a lot of the stuff that I feel that the sport needs that makes it better for who's involved.
I like
the programs, the student athletes, the schools, and college bowling in itself. So now we're going to have school versus school. We're going to have conference, 2 divisions, North and South, big name schools. All right. Like the North is Oklahoma State, us, Drury, K-State, and Kansas. The South is Texas A&M, Houston, LSU, Louisiana Lafayette, University of Texas San Antonio, Dallas Baptist, and I think that's it.
I like it.
There's a total of 11 schools. Everything will be live streamed through the conference website. And you know me, Matt, we're going to set up revenue share for the entire conference.
Fantastic.
So it is it is a momentous change in college bowling. And when the word gets out and people see what we're doing, that's why we had to form an organization called the College Bowling Athletic Association, because there's going to be other schools that want to form conferences in other areas of the country. Ultimately, we want to get to the point where we have 64 teams that make the tournament, and it's just like March Madness. Mm-hmm. That's our goal.
I think that would be a fantastic. Dude, how cool would it be with the fishing teams at college now, to where you have the SEC? I know that they do, but it's all like independent things. But to where when you're under the Bassmaster umbrella or you're under the MLF umbrella or whatever, let's just use Bassmaster, every team on there, you end up with a playoff style.
Yes.
To where you have conference champions, and you basically that would be very interesting.
You know what cracked me up?
To where you're fishing in conference.
Yeah, it's school versus school. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Have you ever watched
that?
Have you ever watched any of the dart competition matches?
Oh yeah, I've showed it on the show numerous times. I said darts is where it's at.
Oh my goodness!
For people who say that it's not a spectator sport for fishing, I throw up the darts.
Oh, there is so much trash talking going on in those dart games. It's incredible, and the fan environment. But we never, right now under the current program act, we don't have a home game. Yeah. I mean, we're on the road for 11 events.
For you.
And this actually creates wins and losses and road games and home games, more importantly, to where the students, the faculty, the staff, friends and family, they can all come out and watch us, where now they'd have to travel to Dallas or Wichita or Houston or San Antonio. It's just a much better situation.
I like it. All right, I got a couple more things I want to run past you.
Yeah.
So I'm going to add this, and you can see that right there. Do you know what that is? I'm going to take it off.
Some kind of lock.
This is MLF has just announced and released their forward-facing sonar lock.
What?
So if you're competing where you can only use one or two or whatever it is,
Yeah.
you have more transducers on. This is an approved device. They started it at the BFLs, I think, where there's just 2 transducer maximum this past week. So if you have 9 transducers, you just have to choose the 7 that you want to put this approved MLF lock on.
Oh my goodness.
Is that not interesting?
That is interesting. It's like restrictor plate racing.
Yeah, the lockbox is a device designed and engineered by Precision Sonar to enforce MLF's new forward-facing sonar rules. It disables the use of transducers once disconnected by locking and securing the cable plugs with a highly visible lockbox. This ensures compliance with the rules while maintaining fairness during the tournaments. And this is just college. It's for all the others, but it said like any competitor has more than 2 forward-facing and or 360-degree sonar transducers installed in their boat is required to use the lockbox during competition to disable the excess transducers. And then you like get it from them, and you're.
How much are they?
I think that they provide them for you. How do I disclose my setup and obtain a lockbox? Before the start of the tournament, competitors must inform the tournament director if their boat is equipped with more than 2 forward-facing and or 360-degree transducers. The tournament director will provide instructions on where to obtain the lockbox prior to day 1, along with instructions for installation.
Wow. It's like restrictor plate racing, man.
Yeah.
Huh.
During boat check, MLF will visually be checking for the highly visible lock boxes on any boats with more than 2 forward-facing. MLF emphasizes the importance of integrity in its competition. Now, that's just a thing about how amazing they are, including the adherence to the newly established forward-facing sonar rules, which will be monitored and enforced collectively by the fishing community.
Okay, this is my lack of knowledge. Is it possible to mount a transducer somewhere on the hull of the boat?
Oh, yeah, you can mount them everywhere.
No, I'm talking about inside the hull.
A through hull forward-facing?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I've never heard of that. I don't think so.
Can't do that? It wouldn't work?
I don't think it would work. What do you think about that?
I don't know, man. Who would have thought we'd ever see the day where there were orange lock boxes on your trolling motor?
Not me. There it is right there.
Wow.
More power to them.
What if you lose the keys? How do you get the thing off? Chainsaw?
I don't know if MLF keeps the keys. Like, is there going to be some dude walking around like the Grim Reaper with just this neck of keys and like.
What is it, rust proof? That thing's going to rust up in a hurry.
I don't know. I would assume so.
Yeah, that thing's going to be torched.
I don't know.
A few dips in the water there.
I saw that press release come last week, and I was like, oh, my God.
The lockbox. That is bass fishing's version of the restrictor plate on carburetors.
Yeah. What else you got? Did you have a good New Year's?
It was good, man. I'm curious. I haven't asked you this question. You might have told me, but I don't remember. So what are your plans? What are you fishing this year?
I'm fishing the Division 2 of the Bassmaster Opens, which is 4 events. You know how any of this works yet?
Yeah.
So it's the 4 events. So it's Sam Rayburn in the middle of February, Kentucky Lake out of Paris, Tennessee, I believe, in early March, and then early April on Norfolk in Arkansas, and then August on Leech Lake. So my goal there is to finish in the top 50 to make the EQs, where then I can then pay an exorbitant amount of money to fish 3 more, to earn the right to fish 3 more events, with which they will then take the top 10 to the prestigious Bassmaster Elite Series, where riches and fame beyond my wildest dreams await me.
Okay, and none of those events have co-anglers.
That is one of the things. They did drop the co-anglers from the Bassmaster Opens. An interesting move. I understand it. I see a lot of negatives and a lot of positives from doing that. It's an interesting move. and I'm also rooming with Miles Berghoff and Matt Steffen, and then Blake Schroeder I roomed with last year.
Hey, I know it's never going to happen.
But Miles and Matt are in on it.
Hey, I know we talked about it like 5-10 years ago. What a great opportunity with everything that's going on to implement the caddy for the anglers. Because now it's a reduction in cost for the anglers because you're splitting the expense because you got somebody to help you out.
Yeah. Yeah, there's the biggest thing, and there's no way getting around this, that it hurts, is there are a lot of guys who, dude loves fishing. He's your team partner. He might not have a boat, or it's a dude that you kind of grew up with that wants to get his feet wet. He's splitting the house with you. You're spending time on the water during practice. You're building that camaraderie. He's helping you drive the 20 hours. Like it's a team deal, right?
Yeah.
And now that guy has no incentive of going because he can't. I had a bunch of them, dude. They get in the boat. They're like, hey, I understand what's up. I travel with so-and-so. Yeah. And I'm like, oh yeah, I like that. Oh yeah, we have a great time, blah, blah, blah. I do a lot of the cooking and stuff in that night. And then he gets in the boat, he catches a few fish, he makes some of his money back. That's what is going to take out, that I think is going to hurt a lot of travel expense and staying expense and stuff. Like, the fact of the matter is there hadn't been a full field co-angler field in the last 2-3 years. You've had some times where you go 2 days without one. Some days you'd have them for both, 1 day with, 1 day without. It definitely has the potential to change the outcome, both negatively and positively. I've cashed checks strictly because of my co-angler. I've also not cashed checks strictly because of my co-angler. And most of like I said, I've always been very co-angler friendly. So it wasn't like a yes, no co-anglers. It was kind of like, oh man, like Darren can't run with me now for a couple tournaments if he wants to jump into it. But then it was also like, okay, I will not have to alter my game plan at all throughout the day.
Yeah.
The other thing that they're making us do is you have to pass a boater safety course in 2025 before the start of the season, which I think is obviously probably insurance related, but I think smart as well.
Is it still you have to have a $500,000 policy now?
Yeah, that's it. But you have to go through like a whole online boater safety or in-person boater safety course, pass all the tests and stuff in order to fish the opens.
All right, so let me ask you this. What's going to be the big story? What is your prediction on the big story for 2025 in the bass fishing world?
The prediction on the big story?
Yeah. Is there a possibility for a repeat performance by the people that won Angler of the Year?
Yeah, I think this is going to be very solid years by both organizations. By all three organizations. Yeah. I think you're going to have the highest viewership that you've had with the NPFL. I think you're going to have a lot of curiosity with Major League Fishing, and a lot of the animosity that had been positioned towards Major League Fishing, quite frankly, is fading.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that as much as people complain about the Bassmaster Elite Series, they still watch it. So will
there be somebody that is in the mix for Angler of the Year that nobody thought they would ever be in contention?
I think that nobody thought, no, but I think your names for Angler of the Year are going to change more and more as the bigger percent of the field not only becomes capable, but excels with tournament theory that's rapidly has been changing for the last 3-4 years.
So we're not going to see, you're saying that the way that the game has changed and how you play it is not a good setup for somebody to come in and dominate for that 2, 3, 4 year period.
It is until it, like, if you're the only guy, think of it like if you're the only guy deep cranking versus if there's 20 guys that deep crank.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. Like, you had a number of years where I think it looked so dominant the exclusively fishing off forward-facing sonar looked so dominant because a small percentage was doing it, right? So I think you're going to see more diversity with the expansion of, or the percentage of the field that is not only capable but excels at it now.
Okay, let me ask you this. I'm kind of all over the place, but it's catch-up time here. Has anybody formed a, for lack of a better term, a forward-facing sonar school to where you can actually go and spend a week, 4 days, whatever, to specifically learn or improve your forward-facing sonar game?
Okay, so there's not like a, that I'm aware of, like a school like that. What you have is a lot of the individuals are not guiding now. They are doing educational, to where you'll either get in the boat, you'll either pay an angler to get in the boat with you, or you'll get in the boat with them. Goal is not to catch a fish. The goal is to not set up your electronics, but to learn what you're looking at, how you're looking at it, that type of thing, to where catching a fish is incidental to that. So there's a lot of anglers that are making side money on that. As far as like a school, you're talking like a Bass University style, where you basically go for 3 days and you get on the water and there's guys, and by the time you leave, you're comfortable and adept with it. Not that I'm aware of.
Do you think that would be a good idea? Not from a pro perspective, but for the consumer perspective, to where they have a much better understanding of how it is, how it works, and how to use it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it would. I mean, there are certain people that couldn't know the location of that. You would have to have some pretty strong security around it.
Oh my gosh. All right. It's Drill Matt. We're
I think we just saw someone in a mullet cut the power to the facility.
Yeah. All right, we're going to end the show with Mark, Drill, and Matt. All right, and you don't have to answer this. You just go, I'll pass on that one. Yeah. Does Zell Rowland belong in the Hall of Fame?
Yes.
I agree. When you look back at the history and the impact that dude had during a certain period of the game with all of his thought. Now, I think he was extremely stubborn, because it could have been, 37 degrees and a 42-degree water temp, and what was he throwing?
A popper.
A topwater. But for what the contribution that he made from the topwater perspective, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Do you think we will see a senior tour, be it 2 events or more?
If Johnny can make money on it, yes. He's the guy. He's the ticket right there. I mean, I think people forget how good Johnny Morris was back in the day. I've talked about this, seeing it at the Bass Fishing Hall of Fame banquet. I mean, you can tell those guys, they're 70 years old and they're looking at each other going like, can you believe we turned it into this? Like, I mean, he was selling stuff out of the back of his truck. He fished multiple Bassmaster Classics, Angler of the Year races, the whole 9 yards. Like, if he wants it to go, like, I think the senior tour goes as Johnny goes. I think if he wants it to happen, it'll happen.
Is Johnny Morris the Elon Musk of bass fishing?
Yes. Yeah. He controls a lot. He does a lot of good too. He does a tremendous amount of good. Everyone wants to, you get a lot of people that talk about, selling and cap space and market share and big corporations, but he does a lot of good for the industry and for awareness, for conservation. There's literally no one that does more for conservation than Johnny. Yeah. And I don't think you should ever be dinged for being able to like work that in your favor while helping with conservation.
Agree. All right, next question. 2026 schedule.
Okay.
2026 schedule. Will there be a West Coast swing?
No.
Why not?
There's no one that's clamoring for it. They just cut the Toyotas out of the West Coast.
You have a little bit of stability in the economy now. The revenue streams are pretty good.
No, I don't think so. I think it's still a pipe dream. Now, I will say Billy and One Bass, I think I could see them expanding and getting bigger. They're doing a hell of a job over there, especially with that trail that they're doing and then linking it with Bass. Linking it with Bassmaster to where you get a spot in the Bass Nation Championship. I mean, you've already got Kurt Dove and a couple other guys that are already qualified for next year's at the Mississippi River. But as far as bringing bass out, especially after what they just did with the Division I and Division II, I don't see it happening.
I know it's out there. Next question. I know it's out there. There's no telling what it is. But what comes next after forward-facing sonar? Is there anything?
Yeah, there's always something. There's always a new bait that we hadn't thought of. There's always a new technology that we hadn't thought of. There's always something that's coming. I think we're in a period of refinement right now. And I think we're in a period of refinement right now.
All right. I made a visit. I had to go to Wichita, Kansas, and there was something in Wichita, Kansas that I had never been to before. Went into a Shields for the first time.
Yeah, that's impressive.
And I was impressed.
See Josh Douglas everywhere on the walls?
Huh?
Did you see Josh Douglas all over the
No.
fishing? Yeah, he's their guy.
Anyway, there's a lot of fluff in that store. It's not a bad thing, but there is a ton of eye candy in that store. Now, I went into the fishing section, and granted, this is December. I know it's the holidays and everything, but you know what I noticed, Matt? I noticed there was a ton of people in the fishing section at Shields. Why is that? Was it just a holiday thing?
Yeah, I mean, Shields is like pretty elaborate. So I think you got a lot of people that just walk through everything just to see everything. But I mean, they're also well known for their fishing tackle.
You know what I saw at
They
Shields?
also carry a lot of seasonal stuff at Shields. Like it's kind of store based. So like if you're into ice fishing, they'll carry ice fishing. It's not like a Walmart deal where it's the same thing at every Shields. So whatever that area or region is, that's what Shields will carry. So that's probably why, because there's a lot of applicable things in that.
Okay.
Shield.
The one thing one of the things that I saw at Shields too, I saw a $30 jerkbait. Is that the norm?
No. What was it?
I don't even know. I don't even remember. All I know it was $29.90,
No.
$29.90 or $29.99.
I don't feel like that's the norm. I feel like 24 to 20. I mean, there might be some mega basses that are approaching that right now. It might be a mega bass, but
okay.
Other than that, no.
Is forward-facing sonar driven up the price of jerkbaits?
Initially, it did, yeah.
Even now,
no.
Is what I'm asking.
I mean, yeah, it's in the arsenal now, definitely. But then what people realized was you could do the same thing with a various weighted jig head and minnow as the same thing with a jerkbait. It's just more effective. So yeah, the jerkbait still is one of the staples, but it's not like, I mean, there was like a year, 2 years where it was just straight jerkbaits.
Okay. All right. I once again, I'm picking on Matt.
Mm-hmm.
Next question. Can you use a chatterbait when you're using forward-facing
You use
sonar?
anything for forward-facing sonar. You can cast a 10XD out and watch the whole damn arc of the bait come down and root around the bottom and come back to the boat.
Have you done that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
You can use it as a topwater. You just watch Scott Martin just put out a thing where the Team USA was competing up in Canada. You watch Wheeler, he's throwing a walking bait on scope on top.
Yeah.
I mean, you can do it with anything. I mean, it's tougher, obviously, like, if you're throwing a square bill or a chatterbait or something that's moving, but absolutely you follow that stuff.
All right. I did notice in Shields too, I was looking at a lot of the rods. It seems like micro guides are going away. Is that a trend, or did I just see something that
not nearly as popular as they had been 8 years ago? It's more like a mid guide now, which is a small guide that reduces lines, but not the micro. I don't think I can handle a micro now. I'm having difficulty with the old stringing up of the rods, Mark.
You got to get some of these, man.
I'm not getting any of those.
You can get 3 for $20 at Costco.
I'm not getting any of those yet.
Come on, man. There's nothing wrong. Readers, that's part of getting old, dude.
Yeah.
That's just part of it.
Yeah. I mean, the thing right now is the new frontier is the minnow.
Really?
Yeah. And for those who don't understand it, it's like witchcraft. For those who do, it's like witchcraft at times, but it is just as, it's like, you have to think of it like a crankbait, even though they look the same. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think you're seeing a lot of companies that are selling a lot of stuff. There's a lot of innovation that's going on right now, but people aren't giving that credit on it because go look at like a square bill or a medium diving box. You're going to have 50, 60 of them. They all do something different. Like you remember KVD would be lined up and he would have 8 different crankbaits on the front deck.
Yeah.
He just did a thing with Zona where they went live in the shop and they were talking about, oh yeah, but this one was silent back in the day and all. It's the same thing with minnows. It's the exact same thing. Size, head weight, action, roll, quiver, everything.
Interesting. All right. Thanks for catching up, man. I'm done drilling you.
No, that's good.
I do have one request. I don't know if anybody's on the live show or even on the replay. I am planning a trip during either June or July to the only state that I have not visited in my life that will complete the list. I'm going to the state of Maine. It's the only state that I haven't been to. And we're going to plan a week trip up in Maine, go to Burlington, Vermont, drive a little bit through New Hampshire and make our way to the coast of Maine. If anybody out there in the month of June or July would like to take me fishing on some lake in the state of Maine, just shoot me an email.
What's your emails now?
It's still the same, mark@basszone.com.
Oh, okay.
All right. Have you been to every single state, Matt?
I've not been to Maine. Maine's on my bucket list. There's there's a couple in that like East Coast where they're all grouped together that I haven't been to.
Yeah.
I got Vermont and I got Massachusetts. I got a bunch of them knocked out this summer thanks to Jody White.
Yeah.
There's like 8 states that we fished, and each one he's like, well, here's where you catch your 35-pound bag in this state, and here's where you catch your 45-pound bag, and you're like, wait, I didn't even know these states had fish that were this big, and he's like, oh yeah.
All right. The other thing is, I want you live on the show to promise me within the next 3 weeks, all right, once this cold span blows through, hopefully, within the next 3 weeks, you're going to take me crappie fishing.
Yes, that is 100% a done deal.
What are you working on?
I'm looking at the weather for the next 3 weeks.
Oh, okay.
I'm literally just pulled up the weather. See, look, for the next 3 weeks. So we have 2, we got a raffle winner and an auction winner that are going to be coming in too. Remember, we have the Bass Fishing Hall of Fame auction winner. That is a bowling lesson and a night of bowling, and then BTL the next day. So that's going to happen sometime in, it's supposed to be during this cold streak. So, and then also I have a raffle winner for Matt Looney from Bass Cat Bass for Beckers, which is a crappie trip. So we'll work it in around that, but we might be able to work you in with the Bass Fishing Hall of Fame. Dude knows his stuff too, who won that. I don't know if we haven't announced that yet, but I'm very looking forward to having him on the show and picking your brain about it. I've talked to him one time for about 2 hours.
Who is it?
The winner of the Bass Fishing Hall of Fame BTL auction. very, he has a footprint in the industry.
Hey, by the
Sponsors
way,
for
I will
anglers.
be. By the way, I will be voting again. What is the term? 2 years or 3 years?
What?
3 years? I think it's 3 years. The people that actually vote for the Bass Fish.
Yeah. So tomorrow I have to make some calls following this show. That's what tomorrow is. Voting or nominations for the Bass Fishing Hall of Fame open through the 15th. Wanted to get a couple of the individuals that are on that committee and on to say like, hey, like, you know, who qualifies, how can you submit a name, that type of stuff. So that'll be that. And then Matt Adams in studio on Wednesday. If that name sounds familiar, he's one of those guys that went through the gauntlet last year, all 9 of the EQs, and was like first or second guy out. So we're going to get him in studio to kind of talk about that. That was his first year going through the opens, what that process was like, and then jumping back into it. I think, I haven't mentioned this to anyone. So you know how they came out with like the Elite Series board of anglers?
Yeah.
I think the opens need that, man.
It's a different playing field, is it not?
Like, I'm fine with, it's a totally different playing field, different rules. 90% of the guys have full-time jobs on that. If you're an EQ, have fished it, are going to fish it, there's going to be turnover on it. But there's certain things for the open anglers that, just like sometimes the Elite Series guys shake their heads at, like, just so that they're aware of that, right? Just so that, like, when Bass comes out with, hey, we're going to do an off day, or we're going to start practice on this day, or this is how long the off limits is, or this is how we're going to, that they, like, kind of know where the open guys' heads are, instead of, well, I wonder if they even thought of that.
Proactive, man.
It's a committee that no one wants to be on, but you'd like to be on. Does that make sense? Because if you're on it, that means you're having a tough time getting out of the Bassmaster Opens.
Oh, Matthew.
Did you get anything for Christmas? Does anyone did anyone get you anything?
Yeah, you'll just have to come over to the house one day.
Did you get a new car?
I have no comment.
What'd you get?
No comment.
You have to say. Did you get a new Mustang? You got a new Mustang, didn't you?
I have no comment.
What'd you get?
I'll send you a picture.
Had you sold the black one with the blue stripes that you've had forever? Or you still have that one too?
Yeah.
You got a new Mustang.
I'll send you a picture. You know, I always comment when I'm driving around and I'll see a Mustang that's not really a true Mustang. If you don't have a V8 in it, it's just not a true Mustang.
Now Scott thinks you got a Honda. Nothing wrong with that. Those are very reliable cars.
Oh, hey, you know what I'm getting tomorrow?
You rarely
though?
see a Sinatra broken down.
No. If you done on your truck, do you have this spray-on bed liner?
Yes.
I'm doing that tomorrow.
I also have a topper. That was one of my Christmas gifts from my parents.
Oh.
Got me
Where did you spend Christmas? Were you at home or you were?
I was in
some exotic place.
Listen, in 5 days, I went from Orange County, California, to St. Louis, to Decatur, Illinois, to Fort Worth, Texas, to Shawnee, Oklahoma.
Wow.
I was a little tired there.
Hey, Bass Herd's comment on there. Agree 1,000%.
Are you guys Mustang?
Yeah, they came out with an electric version of the Mustang, and it was an absolute disgrace to that brand.
It still looks pretty good. You saw a lot of them in Orange County, I'll tell you that.
Well, they look horrible. They suck.
If you get
terrible looking.
I'll tell you what. I've been in a couple. I was in Daniel listens to the show. Good dude down there in Florida. I got in. He's got a Lightning, the Ford.
Yeah,
dude, that thing is pretty wild.
Yeah,
like as far as pickup and speed, and it's. I was very impressed with it. Now, would I want to tow across the country 80 miles at a time? Probably not.
I never thought that I'd still be alive to see the day that a pickup truck would be over $120,000.
Oh, what did we? Oh, I saw a Roush a Roush blacked out. I mean, like blacked out, but not like I have self-confidence issues, so I have to put it into my truck. Like cool dude with a cool, you know what I mean? Out there in California, a blacked out Roush Raptor.
Yeah. Was that like 150?
Oh my gosh. It was the sickest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just, you know, he had it, everything was custom on it, but not,
cool.
Not crazy.
Hey, I will, here's the other thing. Last time we were in Fort Worth for an event, there were 3 or 4 people that came by to watch and say hi to me. We have an event in Plano, Texas this month. And I know there's a lot of people in Texas. I don't even remember when we're going to be there. I think it's the 3rd week, maybe the 2nd week. No, January 18th and 19th. We'll be in Plano, Texas at Plano Super Bowl. So if you want to come by, hang out, watch a little college bowling, reminisce. This year's kind of turned into a rebuilding year, Matt.
You had some injuries to your top
Injuries,
guy, right?
Yeah. I mean, my best player had knee surgery 2 weeks ago. Turned out really good. He's going to be out.
Got a couple guys learn life lessons.
Yeah, yeah.
It's all part of being a college coach, though.
I'm very active in the portal right now.
There's a portal?
Oh, yeah. In fact, I'm trying to get a girl in the portal from where is she from? Oh, she's from Columbus, Ohio.
Oh, yeah. That's a good bowling town, isn't it?
Yeah. Tom, you're right. The new Mustang belongs with the Pinto. I actually had a Pinto. That was my first car. The 1976 Pinto, the one that had the gas tank that was blowing up when you got rear-ended. For you old folks out there, you might remember that. And it was that beige puke color that Ford never
puke. Did you say beige puke?
Yeah.
That's an interesting color.
It was horrible, but it was transportation. And when you're 16 and want to get somewhere, transportation was what it was.
All right. 2.5 hours in.
Kick off the year with KVD.
Yeah, that was awesome. It was actually a little surreal. So like I said, he was doing the media rounds for the show.
Yeah.
He was like, hey man, can I get on BTO? And I was like, yes.
You had to ask?
Yeah. I was like, yes. Yes, you can.
All right, crappie fishing within 3 weeks. Somebody hooked me up with Maine in June or July. Come see me in Plano, Texas, January 18th.
I'll tease you with something.
What?
What are your thoughts on CTL kicking off in late 2025?
CTL?
Yeah.
What's that? Can you talk live? What are you talking about?
We'll chat after the show. It's happening. I'm working on it.
Okay.
All right, this has been another edition of BTL Bass Talk Live. Same time, same place tomorrow.
Oh, I know now what you're talking about. That's good. Can't wait for that one.
We'll talk to everyone then. See ya.
See ya.